We all understand the type of climate that we're dealing with. We're dealing with multiple offer situations.
I'd love to know sort of what's your why? What makes you tick? Why are you so successful?
Have a dialogue with your lawyer. Have a dialogue with your agent.
Both sort of passionate about sort of what we do.
Again, vet your agent to make sure that they're experienced and they're local. I like that idea.
No excuse to miss it on Saturdays from 8 to 9.
That's right.
WBZ.
And now, the show that gives you the latest and most relevant housing market news. Real Estate Radio Boston with financial expert Rick Shearer and legal professional Ali Alavi.
I want to sort of get into some of the things that you've done for clients. So people driving in their car that own multifamilies and maybe thinking about getting rid of them, trying to figure out how to market them. It's sort of a different animal than selling your single family. Is that not correct?
That's very correct. We've actually got a big response from other agents who know someone that owns multifamilies and is looking to just do what you said, get out of the business. And the agents that have contacted us have been primarily residential agents, condos or single-family home sales, and don't know how to do it. Don't know where to start. I mean, you'd just be surprised. They'll just think you got to put it on MLS and that's it.
Right.
And this market actually, you'll get a lot of response, but you might not get the best price for it. So they've called us, and we've helped out a couple people that way.
That's an interesting point. I mean, that basically what that says is that you have carved out a particular niche for yourself that residential agents can't necessarily service.
It is a different product.
Right.
I'll give you a very quick story once. The sellers interviewed a residential agent prior to bringing us on board. And so as I was doing the tour with the owner, he said, the agent we had here before recommended that we change all the toilet seats. I said, why? And he said, well, because she thought the building would show nicer. I said, well, the building's going to be gutted by whoever buys it. It doesn't matter if you have toilets in it or toilet seats.
Wow.
And so that was no knock on her. That was just something that she thought would be needed to sell.
You're not selling
the
a condo
building.
Well,
Exactly.
I think that advice probably works when you're selling a condo, but not a multifamily that's going to be gutted.
Exactly. It didn't matter if it had a kitchen or not. The whole place was going to be gutted.
Right now is now the time to sell a multifamily.
You're certainly going to get a premium for it. There is a ton of foreign money looking to find a home in Boston, and the home that it's looking for is multifamily, and there's far more demand than there is supply. And with low interest rates, even though most of these things are being purchased cash,
right.
Rents are high because we have a suppressed supply. And you're going to get much more of a premium now than you ever have.
Joe, one thing I want to talk about, and we've talked about, in the city, you're going to pay a premium. But previous shows, you've talked about some of the other neighborhoods in and around Boston that you might be able to get a decent deal on. Maybe there's a lot more upside and appreciation there.
Yeah. We refer to those as the workforce housing markets, and the reason is because if you look at all the new product being built in Boston, land's very expensive, therefore that gets trickled down to the renter. Most of these things being built right now are apartment buildings. So you're at $5 a square foot. There's working professionals that are making in excess of $100,000 a year can probably afford somewhere around there. But there's the people that work in the bars and restaurants and all the other businesses that can't, and so they need housing too. And what you're seeing is areas like the Maldens, the Medfords, the Reveres, Everetts,
East Boston,
Chelsea. Those neighborhoods are taking off. And what was once thought of as, less desirable areas, and now there's a lot of private investment going in there, and there's a lot of people that work in those industries that we just discussed, that's where they're living. And the commute to Boston's, 10 minutes.
Right. I want to talk about a couple of different things. We talked about solar is sort of a sexy word, both in the commercial side of things, but also on the residential side. So we sort of want to just take a few minutes. Obviously, we're not a solar company. We don't represent a solar company, but we want to sort of talk about the nuts and bolts because I think a lot of our listeners are contemplating going the solar route, which I think is a smart idea, but there's things we need to keep in mind.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. It's a big wave right now. It's like you said, it's the sexy thing. There's a lot to be said to the energy savings or the cost savings that when you run the matrix of the numbers, that depending on the location of your house or the commercial building and the square footage of panels that you can put on it or the type of panels that get put on
Right.
it, there's a certain amount of kilowatts that can get produced, and then they compare that to your bill and say this is what you can achieve for savings, if not cover all of your electric costs. It also depends on the usage. Every situation is different.
Having heard from both of you, is read your contract and find out what the contract says, because these contracts are multi pages, right? And so make sure if there is, because once the panels are on the roof, they're on the roof.
Yeah.
So if there's no provision for maintenance of these panels, then you're strapped with the cost of maintenance. If there's no provision in there that 5 years down the road you need to replace your roof and you got to get these panels off and back on, that's thousands of dollars of expenditure on your part, correct?
Absolutely, and even if your roof is relatively new and and it's going to equal the life expectancy of the solar system, what if it leaks in 6 months?
Exactly.
Who's responsible to fix that?
And what
they
if there's
make
a
mistake
hailstorm and a panel breaks?
Right.
Who's going
So
to fix it?
You want to make sure, like any contract, you want to read the fine print and understand exactly what you're getting, who's responsible for what, so you don't get surprised later on. I mean, this is it's a relatively permanent decision that you're making. It's like getting a tattoo.
What are some of the tidbits that you would be able to offer customers that are planning on hiring a contractor?
I think it's the similar advice we talked about with the solar people. I think you want to really get an understanding of what it is that you want to do. Try to get an idea as best you can of what you can afford to do. Mm-hmm. Nothing's more frustrating than when people watch those home improvement shows and think that, I'm going to flip your house in a week. That does not happen. Okay?
And the prices that they throw up there, I'm like, are you kidding me?
Yeah, because all the guys that were working on the show are working for free, right?
Right,
So
exactly.
those labor doesn't cost anything.
Right,
So
right.
it's there's reality, and so what it comes down to is vet your contractors, ask for references, make sure they're insured, that kind of thing. Get multiple prices, get multiple opinions. But the worst thing is if you don't really know what you want, then the contractors will start to walk away from you because you're going to frustrate them because they're going to keep pricing the job 6 different ways to Sunday.
Right.
You don't know what you want. You're a waste of their time. They're
So
gonna
get
leave
very,
you.
very clear on what you want. Bring in a couple people. Definitely put Tony Shirelli from Landmark Associates on that list. And just figure out your budget.